science to cooking at home with Einstein, where science and cooking come together as one. Today, we will show you the urea cycle through a simple cake analogy. First, some background information on the urea cycle. The urea cycle occurs in the liver, where it cleanses the body of excess ammonia. Ammonia is a toxic compound produced by the breakdown of amino acids. In the urea cycle, this toxic ammonia is converted to non-toxic urea, which is passed into the bloodstream, sent to the kidneys, and is secreted and eliminated from the body. Now, with the help of my little friends, we will show you the process of the urea cycle by baking a cake. Ammonium and CO2 in the form of bicarbonate are combined by mitochondrial enzyme carbamoyl phosphate synthetase. Just like a chef mixes the dry ingredients and wet ingredients to make a cake batter, carbamoyl phosphate synthetase combines CO2 and ammonium. And just like a chef requires an electric beater to mix those ingredients, carbamoyl phosphate synthetase requires the input of 2-ATP to make the final product, carbamoyl phosphate. In this reaction, the 2-ATP are hydrolyzed to produce 2-ADP and 2-inorganic phosphate in addition to that carbamoyl phosphate. Carbamoyl phosphate is then added to ornithine, which has come into the mitochondria from the cytosol. This reaction is catalyzed by mitochondrial enzyme ornithine transcarbamylase. Ornithine is analogous to a cake tin in this sense, because in the urea cycle, ornithine acts as a skeleton to which material is added at each turn of the cycle, just like a cake tin receives cake batter every time a cake is made. The product of this reaction is citrulline, which actually transfers from the mitochondria into the cytosol. Once in the cytosol, citrulline reacts with aspartate. This reaction is catalyzed by the very happy enzyme arganosuccinate synthetase. The double dephosphorylation of 1-ATP is required for this reaction to occur, thus producing 1-AMP and 2 inorganic phosphate. This is equivalent to the single phosphorylation of 2-ATP. Note that aspartate here is represented by the zest of an orange. This is because aspartate is an intermediate of the citric acid cycle, and so we've represented it by the zest of a citrus fruit. The product of this reaction is arganosuccinate, in addition to the 1-AMP and the 2 inorganic phosphates. Arganosuccinate in the cytosol is then cleaved by cytosolic enzyme arganosuccinase. This cleavage by arganosuccinase produces fumarate, which is analogous to pulling lemon out of the cake batter. This only happens in very special urea cakes. The remaining cake batter, without the lemon, is arginine. Now the cake batter, arginine, is complete and only requires one last step to produce urea. This last step is hydrolysis, catalyzed in the cytosol by enzyme arginase. Here, the oven represents H2O, which will cause hydrolysis of arginine. Products of this reaction: ornithine, the cake tin, which can be recycled for further turns of the urea cycle. And of course, urea! Yay! Which is sent to the kidneys for elimination. But hold on, what happens to fumarate from the arganosuccinase reaction? Fumarate, an intermediate of the citric acid cycle, moves from the cytosol into the mitochondria and takes part in this aspartate argininosuccinase shunt, really just a part of the citric acid cycle. It produces malate, another citric acid cycle intermediate, therefore represented by a citrus fruit, a lime. Malate, in this aspartate argininosuccinate shunt, really citric acid cycle, produces another citric acid cycle intermediate, oxaloacetate, represented by another citrus fruit, an orange. Then, via a transamination reaction, which incorporates a second important ammonium ion into the urea cycle, the shunt produces aspartate and alpha-ketoglutarate. That's right, aspartate, the same aspartate that reacts with citrulline in the cytosol in earlier steps of the urea cycle. And there you have it, my good friends. The urea cycle is analogous to cake baking, so every time you bake a cake now, think of urea! This is Professor Einstein signing out.
That's all, folks.